Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman. And today we're going to talk about iteration as a defense against being micromanaged. This came up. I was talking with my manager not too long ago, and she mentioned that she was going to have to start micromanaging some people because they just weren't making any progress. And I said, I don't know the last time I ever got micromanaged. I don't even know what I would do if somebody tried it.
Yeah.
It would be weird. And that got me thinking about how, because I iterate fairly continuously, it provides a very good defense against being micromanaged. So put aside that, there are occasionally bad managers and people who are insecure or just bad, and they will micromanage you for no good reason at all. Those people, that happens. That's a fact of life. Most managers are not going to micromanage you just because they feel like micromanaging. That's not a thing that good managers or even decent ones are going to do on a regular basis. What it comes down to, if a otherwise good manager is starting to micromanage you, is they are afraid. They don't see progress, and your manager is responsible for your progress. And so micromanagement comes out of a fear. It's a lack of observability and a fear of progress. And so they will start dictating to you to do things that they can observe that you've done.
Right.
And generally they're going to be the wrong things because they're going to be surface level things, but they will be things that they can observe that you've done. And that will give them some level of reassurance that you're able to move things forward. And that's really annoying to you. It's really not great for them. And if you iterate, right, if you're a very iterative developer and you are constantly pushing code, then your managers can see the steps that you're taking. And if you're pushing code every release, or you're working on a bug and you don't understand it, but you've written a test to try and figure it out, and all you have to show for your day is you've now written 3 tests that show how the bug is not happening. But you have 3 tests now. Like, there's something to show for it. You can show, like, look, I've been figuring out this is the thought patterns. Right. They'll be like, okay, cool. Let me know how it's going. They're not going to follow up with you. They're not going to, like, well, did you try this? You can show them something because you've been pushing code, and they can look at it if they are starting to get that fear, but they won't necessarily have it. They'll see, like, oh, he's committing code, or they'll be able to see your steps because you're iterating. They'll see your steps every day, and that will stop the fear. You'll be observable because you've iterated.
I think I don't know how often I've been micromanaged in my career, just trying to think of it on the spot. But I do know that at times I've had my manager definitely like check in with me just to see where things were. But I think that was usually when I was taking a really long time to do something, right?
Yeah.
And so it's more of just a check in to see, where are you? They weren't really telling me what to do. They were just going like, hey, what's the deal with this? So maybe that is micromanaging, but I guess I didn't feel like it was. But
I don't think it's micromanaging. At most, it's the very first step towards micromanaging, because if they checked in and they didn't get a warm and fuzzy feeling from you, then they would check in.
They would keep checking in. Yeah,
keep checking in, and then they would start making suggestions.
Right.
Whereas,
so I think that's a good idea, though, because like in that case, I was working on a very nebulous kind of project, and there wasn't a clear, like, it was more like an efficiency project, just trying to figure out like why something was behaving the way it was, and a lot of exploration was needed to understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so in retrospect, I was thinking, if I actually did something like what you're talking about, either deliver some kind of iterative thing, which in this case probably could have been like a document showing all the things that I know it's not, like as I'm going and knocking off all the things that are, this wasn't the issue, this wasn't the issue. That way I can provide some kind of list to either somebody else if I were to hand it off, or some kind of like documented journey progress for anybody who's just curious to know, Isaac's been on this thing for 2 weeks and we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Why not? And then, okay, I can see Isaac's actually checked 20 different things, from the most likely to the least likely, and we're still trying to, figure out what's going on here. So definitely breaking apart something into smaller stories or deliverables, if they're not like Jira ticket kind of things. I could see that placating the fears of somebody wondering if my resource will be free soon because they need me on something else.
Right. I mean, that's a great call out of you're working on a nebulous problem. Like, hey, this thing isn't fast enough, and you need to make it faster. You're like, okay, well, I don't know why it's not fast. Like, assuming it's well enough defined, like, hey, this goes at 100 events a second, and it needs to be 1,000 events a second. You're like, okay, you start with the I'm going to do this, and maybe at the end of by the end of the week, you probably have something to check into the code that goes out in the next release. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I refactored this stuff. It doesn't really have any impact, but I want to get it out there to just keep the work in progress low. And it's a stepping stone. And they'll go, oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
how's Isaac doing? How's Jeff doing on that 10xing this thing? It's like, oh, well, he's refactored the code because thinks that's going to let him scale it better. It's
Right.
like there's a bunch of stuff that he said, he needs to separate these concerns, and then he can just do 10 of them in parallel, and that should get it. And so
Got to go slow to go fast.
well, I liked what you said. Just keeping
Mm-hmm.
I'd almost call it a theory log, like
Yeah.
theory about why this thing isn't working right. you
That way
just
you have something to show for it. Even
right,
if you don't actually have a code fix, you could hand it off to somebody if you got pulled off on some other even more important work. Then they could go, oh, let's toss over to John Doe over here and see if they can continue where you left off. Yeah.
right. It's better than a little bit better than a duck, where you say this is my theory, and then you just say it didn't work. Theory didn't work.
Right.
But I find, like, as you say, when you've got these, you're more likely to get a manager check in if you're working on a nebulous project because they don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. Like you're exploring, right? You're
Right.
looking, you're panning for gold. You don't know when you're going to find it. It's not like, oh, I'm fixing a bug and I'm going to grind away at it. It's you're looking for something. You don't know what it's going to be. It could be, and check-ins are great. Check-ins are fine. Don't, but like, hey, if your manager is feeling worried, that's the fear. It's they can't see what you're doing, and they don't know if you're actually making progress or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the check-in, and that's what you need to iterate on. Of yeah, I mean, even if you're doing a nebulous thing, just being able to say, look, I tried this and it didn't work, and I tried that and it didn't work, and I made some changes over here and they didn't work, or they didn't do anything.
It kind of reminds me, you many, many, many episodes ago, you mentioned a study I think that you had read or heard, and it's about how good developers committed more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
We never could find that study. We should find that study.
I
I'm very curious about it. But
I'm
it's
certain I read it, but
conceptually
I
really,
can't find it. Yeah.
but it's conceptually similar because you have those checkpoints there, right? Like you're still breaking apart your work into pieces instead of one big commit. You can have like the small, like individual commitments there, or
Mm-hmm.
small individual commits to show kind of like your log on the way there, and it's easier to for someone to follow and see your work.
Yeah, I just did a quick search and I could not find anything. I found lots of people talking about it and saying it's a great thing to do, but nothing that was nothing that looks like a rigorous study.
Well, it feels like a
Yeah,
realistic study.
it
I do
it
think
feels
committing
true.
frequently is better. So even if it's not, even if you do commit frequently, though, you can at least have like a kind of that check in. You can hand
Right.
off. It's just it's nice to have those checkpoints to see where you're at, and even still, you could even look through your own log and say, oh, well, here's the things I've done in pieces. Kind of like to recollect your journey if you're kind of if your boss asks you, what have you been doing this whole time? Because you have a local branch you haven't pushed. So check the Git log real quick and see, here's all the things I've had so far. Let's go over it
Yeah.
if you need to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a compulsive. I used to be a compulsive saver. Like when I'd play video games as a kid, I would.
Yeah, same.
I'd be like saving every 30 seconds, and now, Like I'm a compulsive committer. I'll
Well,
write.
see, that's the same emotion though. It's
Mm-hmm.
fear, right? Like
It's
you
fear.
lost this, you lost one of your game saves one time,
Mm-hmm.
and now you save a ton, or you save in 3 different save slots for games that still have that these days, because you're
So I'm
worried about
micromanaging my
losing
save
that.
strategy.
Exactly, it's the same fear as the manager to
It
check in with
is
you.
observability. I need to see that commit to know
Right.
that it's really been saved and it's not going to get lost.
Hmm.
And if the computer doesn't like it, then it should become sentient and kill all humans.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Right? But for humans, um, observability and committing often and iterating is a much, much better, healthier way to get rid to defend against. Defend might be too strong a word. To make it so that your manager would have no reason to ever micromanage you.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.